Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. It's been a fun week of chaotic raids. I've done dozens upon dozens upon dozens of clears, and of course have plenty to say. I've already said a lot of it in the video. Ivy, what are you throwing a fit for over there, huh? What are you throwing a fit for? I did just walk in from the gym, so she's probably in the mood to play. And yeah, I put out a first thoughts video. I put out my guide, and I probably have one or two more other videos still to do on chaotic that I could think of off the top of my head. We'll see if I get those done this week. I also still need to revisit more Final Fantasy XIV mobile related stuff, so I'd expect a decent amount of that in January, and then it's probably going to be pretty quiet Final Fantasy XIV wise. We probably don't have a live letter until February at the earliest. And so I guess 14 mobile and any other beta releases it does might be the only other news that we really get for a little bit. So January is probably going to be a bit quiet. I do want to play Tales of Grace's F, which is coming out January 17th. I want to play Dynasty Warriors, which also comes out January 17th. There's only 2 games I care about in January. How do they both line up with each other on the exact same day? Ugh. Yeah, other than that, end of the year. This is the last Mondays with Mr. Happy in 2024. Which means the next one will be next year. I'll see you next year. It's been a wild year. It's been a lot of ups and downs this year. Many you know about, some you don't know about. But overall, I'm pretty grateful for the 2024 that I had. I say the ups definitely outweighed the downs, and I'm doing better than ever. I think that shows for itself, you know, in terms of health and content and joy. I think everyone can pretty clearly see that I'm in a much better spot, despite you know, something, you know, it's terrible in the last few months with losing Aloha. Speaking of which, I will be doing Aloha plushes next year. I'm trying to get a quote in January at some point for how much it would cost and, you know, how it would be structured. So I'm expecting news about that in Q1. What else in Q1? Steel Series. I haven't done much with Steel Series in 2024. I was really focused on me, and I didn't really, you know, shout them out as much or do too much, nearly as much as I did. There's been giveaways under some of the videos. They're going to end like the day after this weekly Q&A comes out. So if you want one last chance at entering, it's for a mouse, a keyboard, a headset, and a mouse pad. The original tweet itself lists the exact ones that it'll be, but effectively a bunch of Steel Series stuff. I expect to be working with them a lot more closely in 2025, so you'll probably hear me shouting out my link, my discount code, which is available year-round. That's in the description of literally almost every video I upload. Like 95% of videos have all of that in the description. And so if you're ever looking for another way to support the channel, get something new, and if you have questions about that stuff, just ask me in the comment section. Even if I don't answer it like as part of the weekly Q&A, you can always definitely ask that. But I'm grateful to everyone who comes here every week for Mondays with Mr. Happy, who enjoys all of the content, you know, watches it, enjoys it. State of the Realm, guides, thoughts, news, whatever it is. I'm glad to be bringing it to you. It's the 11th year I've been doing it, and soon it'll be 12. 12 years I've been doing it in May. Not even in May. In May I'll have been partnered for 11 years. But no, by next year I'll have been like doing this like fully for about 12 years. So, whew, that's something. But it's another year, and it's a year that like I said, I'm very grateful for. It's been, like I said, the ups have, for me at least, vastly outweighed the downs, and I'm hoping for a much, much more, I'm not going to say me-focused 2025, but me being even better to me in 2025. I think that's a fair enough thing to say. But yeah, thank you. You guys have all been awesome. So before we get started, there's barely any questions in this week's Q&A. You know, with the holiday season, there's just a handful of comments on last week's stuff. So this one, I could stretch out the answers. I decided to stretch out the intro because I checked, and there's just the Q&A section won't be very long. So, you know, feel free to ask questions for next week's episode in the comment section of the video below. And I have a feeling after Chaotic being out and everyone being back from holiday and New Year and all that stuff being done, it will probably have quite a few more questions next week. But anyway, let's get to it. First question, hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy Bramble Strat. Kill me. Hi, Haps. Hope you and Ivy are well and had a wonderful holiday, and a few extra hellos for any who forgot. Thank you. We did, and I hope you had a good holidays as well. Odd question, but some friends and I were talking about the state of housing in 14, which caused me to do a little research. I noticed that in 4.0 we got Shirogane, and the Empyrean was added in 6.0. With this pattern, what is the chances we might see a brand new housing district in 8.0? It's pretty likely. I think we need to hear about the other housing stuff this expansion first. We know they're like doubling the outdoor. I think it was the outdoor housing items that can be placed, but we don't know anything beyond that. Oh, and the interior, the ability to buy the increased size for the interior is another thing that's going to be coming in the next patch. At least I think they were planning for the next patch. So we need to see those first. And then I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's fair to guess that every, 4 or so years, they probably want a new housing area. But I think they sooner focus on making sure they can get more of the areas that are already there to make sure that the volume keeps going up before they concern themselves with adding a new area. But totally within reason to expect one in 8.x. Heck, it wouldn't even be that surprising if before the end of 7.x there was a new one. But I would expect 8.x at the earliest would be when the next housing. Maybe not 8.1, but just sometime in 8.x. That's the earliest I would personally expect it. Hashtag Mr. Happy Mondays. Hi, Mr. Happy. Hi. After seeing the mobile version's quality of life features and assuming that CS3 oversaw its development to some extent, yeah, they basically would like check with them to make sure things were okay and get feedback on things. How many of those features do you realistically think will get implemented in the main game? Glamour catalogs, maybe a separate system, improved friends list, faster UI responses. So I'll do this in reverse order. Faster UI responsiveness, a lot of that has to do with the way that mobile, how do I say this? A lot of mobile's UI features are built under the idea that you will not be simultaneously trying to play the game and use those things at the same time. And it's been built from the ground up. So a lot of those things together mean they could be a little bit more creative and efficient with a lot of those systems. Again, it's just expected that you will not be trying to simultaneously play the game. Now, to be fair, I don't think that's the reason why. I think it is genuinely, it's just built on newer technology. I think that phones generally are quite responsive when it comes to those things, but they've just clearly done a good job with all of their UI related stuff. And I think that's something that the main team definitely wants to work on, especially when it comes to, as you stated, the friends list. We already know an improved friends list is on the way, or let me rephrase. Improved friend-related features, friends list-related features. They have not said specifically that they are going to be revamping the friends list. They've only stated that they are going to be doing updates to it, which are not the same thing. If for all we know, it could still be kind of a broken mess, or maybe it could be entirely better. There's no way of knowing. But we do know that they are working on that in particular. So that's a hope that, those two things, fast UI responsive and improved friends list, are kind of one and the same. As for the glamour, I don't think this ever changes, quite frankly. I would like it to change. I know plenty of others who would like it to change. I don't think it's happening, only because it's so ingrained in the game systems that the complete revamping of it is probably not seen as an essential need. And not that that means they shouldn't do it, but when they look at the way they'll spend their time, spending time on something that your player base can work with and is working with, I hear Ivy begging for attention, is unlikely versus addressing something that clearly doesn't work or isn't fulfilling its needs. So that's the tough thing. I would prefer they go through some sort of system of updating it, but I wouldn't hold any hope of the main team doing that. I don't think you're going to see that with much of anything. There may be some things that they look at and go, maybe we could do this better in the main game. Maybe we should do something similar to this. But these are not the things I'm expecting, because I think that they're either too large in scale, or they would not be one-to-one recreations, or they're already working on them in some capacity within the way that retail works. So I'm definitely not going to use the mobile game as a bar of what the main team should do, or my expectations of what they will do. I don't know if there's a better way for me to word that answer, but that's where I'm at. Hashtag happiest with Mr. Monday. Happiest? Who's happiest? I am happiest. Happiest Maximus. Hey, Happy. Hi, I'm having problems with PoE2 crashing my PC, and I know it's my CPU. What CPU are you using? What settings do you run PoE? I run PoE when I can run PoE on whatever its max settings are. I think I turned it down just when I'm streaming it. Especially when I'm dual streaming both 14 and Path of Exile 2. But if you know it's your CPU, I'm using, what am I using right now? I think I'm using an AMD CPU. Yeah, I think it's an AMD, what is it, like 58? Honestly, I don't even know. I've had it for a couple of years now. It's like an AMD like 58, like Radeon 5850 something like that. I don't know. It's somewhere in that range, like a 5800 series. AMD CPU works pretty good. I'll probably get a new PC sometime next year, though. I just like buying new PCs every like few years. I just buy them outright. I'm like, I don't want to deal with all this. Just give me a whole new thing. But yeah, I can run. I just run PoE at like just below max, and 14 I can run at max or just below max. Like when I'm running either of them individually, I could just run them at max. But when I'm running them together, I tend to just lower them a little bit. Hashtag Mondays with Mr. Happy. Hello, Haps. Hi. Hope you're doing well. Same to you. Simple question. Who is your favorite band or musical artist? I do not have one outright favorite musical artist and or band. I don't. I judge every song on its merits. I guess if I were to break it down statistically, like I like the most songs from this band or from this artist, I could probably come out with someone who's on top. But I don't. I just, if I like a song, I like a song. Even if it's from an artist I otherwise would say I don't like. If it makes me do this, then it's a good song. And it could be any genre too. Like the only genre I don't really vibe with is like heavy metal. There's no like, how do I say this? There's nothing interesting happening musically for me there. It just sounds like a mash of sounds being put together, and it does not in any way give me any sort of vibe. It doesn't get my heart rate going. It doesn't. I can't like nod along to it. There's just, that's the only brand of music. Like I think I outright have never enjoyed a single song. You know what though? I guess no, because like really like actual heavy metal, not stuff that like kind of comes close to using heavy metal as like. Because there's like some video game music that uses heavy metal, but it doesn't really go. It doesn't lean all the way into the heavy metal bits. It like throws it in like bits and pieces, so it almost becomes like a cross genre of music in a sense because it's like mixed with something that's a little bit more digestible. So it's a weird place. But no, yeah, I don't have a favorite. I'll listen to house. Like, you know what? Just because I don't want to opt out of an answer, I'll say Daft Punk was probably my favorite growing up. Anytime they did anything, I was all over it. I mean, obviously this opportunity will never come now, but I was always hoping they would tour again so I could go see, because I didn't go to like a live 1997 or a live 2007 or any of that. So that would have been the only thing I would have loved to have been to a Daft Punk like actual show. But no, yeah, I guess I'll just make that my answer, because I remember seeing Interstellar 5555 as like a kid and just being fascinated by it. And then the music, it's like second nature from there, and I'll still put them on occasionally. So you know what? Well, I would normally not say I really don't have a favorite. I'll just say Daft Punk so I have an answer to the question. Before I answer this, there was a question asking about an Astro retrospective. I did do one. I just forgot to put it in the playlist. I apparently also forgot to put one of my Stormblood retrospectives in said playlist. So if I will totally forget to put them in after saying this, but I should really remember to put those in those playlists. Hashtag chaotic happy _ Master of Mondays. Hello, Haps. Hi. Merry Christmas. Same to you. Hope the Grinch of Darkness isn't giving you too much trouble on Christmas. No, it took like 5 hours to clear. 4.5, 5 hours, something like that. With the drought that usually comes with an expansion launch in the 0.1 patch after, wouldn't it be better to release Exploration? Yeah, I mean, I've been saying this for weeks and months. In fact, I probably covered this in last week's episode. In fact, I think I've said this in like the last 3 or 4 episodes. Yeah, I've said that they need easier, low barrier for entry, long form content earlier in the expansion. Stuff like Cosmic Exploration or the Crescent Island, aka the Shades Triangle, which is our next exploration foray. Because it's more accessible to more people. It's something that you can go at a really slow pace. You can spend a lot of time and go at a really fast pace. You can spend a lot of time in it without having to spend all that time in like set periods of time. So it's easy to log in, do it a little bit, log out, not feel pressured to log in, etc., etc. So yeah, no, I've been saying this for weeks and months. I've got tons of videos about it. So you will not, don't worry, you will keep hearing me talk about this until we see 8.x. I'll make sure it's not a topic I drop. Hashtag Happy Mondays with Mr. Hello. Hi, Happy. Hi, how's your Monday? I don't know. I'll let you know when Monday happens, but it'll probably be okay. Do you think there's any hope for Summoner being a pet job again? No. Just write it off. The fact that you're getting a bunch of the big summons is as close to being a quote pet job as you're going to get. Like getting more big summons, or the big summons playing an important role in your rotation. That's the closest you're going to get to a pet feel. And that's really what they're going for. They're going for what looks like and presents as summoner, and summoning all these giant creatures to do these massive attacks. I mean, that's Summoner 101. But in terms of being an outright pet job, no. Beastmaster as a limited job may achieve that. I'm very curious to see if it does. But that you'll probably be looking at your limited job content for Beastmaster when you're looking for pet-related stuff. And yeah, that's the last question. Everyone else just had comments about stuff that we talked about last week. You know, some people saying I looked majestic. A few just comments about some other stuff. And then what else was there? Just comments on stuff, you know, talking a little bit about the severe drop in players question from last week that I talked about. So there was that as well. And yeah, that's really all there is. There's not even like much for me to like look at and comment on what other people were saying here, because it would just be a repeat of what I said last week when I talked about, you know, people who say there's like a massive fall off, but the data doesn't actually suggest that, not to mention the actual average player base, like the average number of players that log in on any given day or week, or like that are considered active players, is still significantly higher than it was in like the old days, like most of the lifespan of the game, like even like the front. I think even somebody mentions it here, because there are more people playing on average now than there were in like even Shadowbringers, outside of the latter half of Shadowbringers, because, you know, perfect storm situation. So yeah, I told you it wouldn't be a very long Q&A, which works for me because I actually have to do a coaching session for Chaotic in about 20 minutes, so it gives me a little bit of time to relax before that time comes. So be sure to ask your questions in the comment section of the video below. Be sure to like and subscribe. And thanks again for 2024. I'm glad I spent 5 minutes at the start of the show talking about all that stuff, because got through quite a bit of time. And, you know, I'm glad I said probably were more things I could say if I thought about it and like wrote stuff down first. But, you know, just, you know, here I am for now. So thank you. I'll see you in 2025. And until then, take care.